Hello, welcome to the You've Got Sales podcast. I'm your host, David Revell, and today's a huge day for me. First guest ever on the show, the man, the myth, the legend, Andy Piper. He's a man with almost over 30 years of sales experience, just to make you feel a little bit old there, mate. 15 years within the cleaning and hygiene industry as an expert within it, currently national sales manager at Vepper, a German multinational paper hygiene manufacturer, and I'm glad to say one of my friends as well. So welcome, Andy. It's good to have you here.
Thanks, David. I hope I can live up to that intro. You made me sound quite important and special. So yeah,
I can assure you, so you are very special.
it's been said before. So
You're important to me. So
not in a positive light sometimes, but there we are.
yeah, there we go. Well, at least as long as you're remembered, that's the main thing.
Very true. Yeah, very true.
So yeah, over 30 years in sales, Andy. How has it changed over that time? I bet a lot has changed, but
Yeah.
how's it changed over those 30 years?
Yeah, firstly, you made me feel really old then, so thanks for that. Sales has changed, hasn't it? I think the world has changed in 30 years. Gone are the days of sort of lost the art of cold calling. We now do everything via WhatsApp or email or, I remember when I started, it was everybody knocking on doors, and that was the done thing. And it's not so much the done thing anymore, but that's fine because you just got to adapt and you got to change with the world around you, haven't you? So it's,
Yeah. I think you've got to have a bit of the old with the new, don't you? You can be, if you're too focused on doing it the old way, it can hold you back. And if you're too focused on doing it the new way, it can hold you back as well.
I think you've also got to find your way of doing it. There are still guys out there that door knocking is what they thrive on and they absolutely love it. I've got to be honest, it was never my bag. It was never the thing that excited me. I've got friends that have been in sales as long as me, and the art of the chase is the thing that they love. Me, it's more about give me an account and I'll grow that account, and I enjoy that side of it. But everybody fits in however they fit in, don't they? And you need those people that are the door knockers and the hunters, and you need those that are the, to coin a sales phrase, you need hunters and farmers. You need the people to grow those accounts, and you'll often find, and it's not always true, but you'll often find the guys that are really great at getting those accounts can't then manage those accounts or manage them to a point, and then their skill set then stops. And it's the same for the reverse, for the farmers. They're not the ones to go banging on the door, but they're the ones that can grow those accounts from 10 grand to, 2 million or whatever the number is.
Have you found, I guess we've found, even just been recruiting sales for the little time that we've been doing it, it seems like there's less hunters these days. Did you feel like that's the case when you come across sales guys, or?
Yes, because I think it's harder to hunt now because you've got receptionists that won't give you the name of the buyer unless you've got an appointment or unless they currently deal with you. So how do you break down those doors if the gatekeeper is the one that's saying no? And I've listened to, many podcasts, read books where they're like, flirt with the gatekeeper, do this with the gatekeeper and that.
Difficult
with the gatekeeper. Yeah, then you have to start employing women to flirt with those guys. If the gatekeeper says no, you're stuck. So you've got to look at other ways. So then as the likes of LinkedIn comes into it, or, those sorts of different, let's try and be different. Let's look at, do we go to an event? Do we go to networking events? There's more than one way to skin a cat. But I think that, the hunters are so set on, I want to get into that end user, or I want to get into that distributor. If they can't get past the gatekeeper, we'll leave it. Whereas other people are going to go, well, hang on, there's other ways of doing it. How else can we do it? So, yeah,
There's also more anti-sales stuff, isn't there? I mean, in terms of like, you can see on your phone if someone's, a nuisance caller, or you can, you've got these email things which will automatically scan what company you're from and stop the emails getting through to necessarily the right people as well. So you've just got so many avenues that get closed off from those sort of traditional ways.
It's a constant battle, it's a constant challenge of how do I get the next big, how do I get into the next account? Here, I think, and WEP is a prime example. We're still relatively new in the UK market, but for the past couple of years, we have to do things in a different way. So what can we do in a different way? We did a project a little while ago where we sent out samples to everyone ahead of contacting them. Whereas before, it's often the reverse. You'll contact someone and they'll go, "Oh, send me some samples, I'm interested." So we just did it the reverse way and got more of an uptake because they've already got the product in front of them and you've already got a reason to speak to them. We sent you a load of samples. Did you get them? Yeah, we did. All right. Well, what did you think? And whereas doing it the reverse way, you're introducing a product when really they've got the internet to look at. So, and it was, so it's just finding different ways.
To be a tangible thing that someone can touch, though, can you? That's the one thing with the internet. Like it takes you away from those things that you can actually hold in your hand. And if you send someone something, even when you get a letter these days through the post, you're like, wow, a letter. And it's the same, I guess, for products through the post samples. You actually get to feel it, touch it, see the quality.
Yeah, I mean, I worked for a company that sent stuff out in a handwritten letter because nobody gets a handwritten letter. The envelope was handwritten. And you just sort of go, it makes your eyes fall on it because you think, well, someone's taken the time to write that or someone's taken the time to send that sample. The internet's come on so much. You can just buy anything now, can't you, from anywhere, and you haven't even got to leave your front room. Give it an hour and it's being delivered to you. So people's way of buying has changed as well. They needed to see a rep. They needed someone to advise them, to consult with them. Whereas now they can go on the internet and they can say, well, actually, I can buy this product from Amazon for £5 and you're trying to sell it to me for £7.50. Yeah, but touch and feel this one and it will be completely different to this one. It's, so it's just challenges, isn't it? It's the fun part of sales.
A lot more clued up, aren't they now? It's easier to get that information.
Yeah.
They can do their own research, especially, I'm sure you've used it quite a bit. I use it a lot. You can use AI to research everything now. If the subjects you don't know, stick it into ChatGPT. It tells you everything you need to know. It's crazy.
Yeah. We were doing, me and one of the guys I work with, Sam, we were doing it the other day. I was on the phone to him and he was like, "Oh, well, what about this?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know what that is." He went, "Hang on," and just jumped on ChatGPT and away we go. It's like suddenly we've got literally just say it or type it in and, Google was always the place before, wasn't it? Not anymore. It's changing again.
Yeah. It does. It for at least from what I've seen from it, it brings an interesting challenge because I'm not sure if you've seen how ChatGPT works, but the way it works is that it takes data from the internet and then will basically use those sources to give you the information. Well, that's fine, but not everything on the internet is true. Not everything is accurate. And especially if it's made by other AI systems.
What do you mean it's not true? It's on the internet. It must be true. If it's on Facebook, then clearly it's true,
It's true, yeah. Exactly. So when it comes to it's only as good as what someone has put on there. Yeah. Otherwise it's guessing. And not everything is going to be on there, especially very niche area markets and products. There's not going to be that much, especially when it comes to comparing products and things like that. It's not going to be there. So you can get the wrong information completely from relying on it. So you do have to be careful how you use it.
Yeah.
So it's like, how does a salesperson utilize that?
Yeah. I was playing around with it the other day. I'm a dinosaur compared to, most people in relation to new technologies, but I was just playing around with it, and I said, "Oh, write me an email for a cold call," and it just produced an email, and I was like, "Blimey!" It's just is all there at your fingertips. Whereas before, you might go on Google and a template for a cold call email, for argument's sake, and it would give you 60 different options. Whereas now and then you've got to look through everyone and go, "Well, I like that. I like that." So there was that bit of research. Now it is almost at your fingertips that it will just write it for you. Some people are going to take it. And I think, you can tell when something's AI generated as opposed to somebody's written it. Again, it's how the world is, isn't it? It's all changing. We got there's electric cars.
There is. It's all going to change massively over the next 5-10 years. And sales is going to change as well because of it. How do you think, because I think all salespeople are trying to figure out how we can utilize this for their benefit, and how's the job going to change over the next few years? How do you think it's going to change over the next 5-10 years with AI specifically?
I think it will. I still think people buy from people. People buy a specific product because they like that person that's selling it to them, or they like that service that they're offering. If they move to a different company, then that person tends to follow that person, in my experiences.
Yeah.
So I think you still get that. You still want that personal touch. You still want somebody to come in, and to me, sales is very much a problem-solving thing. What are your pain points with your current route of distribution, or what are your pain points with the current products you're using? And if I've got this alternate product that you can take, and it alleviates that, AI is never going to be able to do that, because you've got to be specific about your pain points, or you've got to be specific about the issues that you're currently having, whether that's distribution, whether that's how sustainable the product is, or how eco-friendly it is, or there's too many factors to be able to say AI will take over in sales, but I think it will definitely play a part. I think if you're buying everything off the internet, then AI is probably going to be huge. Let's be honest, a lot of buyers still want that sell your product to me and sell yourself to me. Sales is a personal thing. Sales is people buy from people. I think that will always be a factor. It's just how much AI will be involved in that process.
I guess it might depend on how transactional your business is, isn't it? If it's a very transactional in nature, then AI can do a lot of that. But I just, as a recruiter, people talk about AI and recruitment. It's like, how can you have something where the people is everywhere? How's an AI going to navigate that? I can't see it it'll be able to do a lot of things, write your emails, create copy, stuff like that. But you need someone to trust you and work with you and solve those problems. Like you say, I just can't see it being able to fill that gap. And I think I think we underestimate how much we like dealing with other people. I think that's going to become more apparent as time goes on. We love dealing with other people. We don't want to deal with robots, really. Even if they can solve that problem. I always think about it like, when you go onto websites and you see there's the little help thing at the bottom, and there's there's a little thing there which will give you different options to choose where you need your help. And and a lot of the time that's AI. I still always go straight to talk to the human, please. Every time. I just want to talk to the human. So, because you're going to get the answer quicker for what your problem is, and they're going to own that problem and deal with it.
Recruitment's probably a good thing. You want to know that person's going to fit in with the philosophy of your business. Now, I might be wrong on this, but one of 3 ways of doing it. I can stick a job advert on LinkedIn and then have to sift through hundreds of CVs. I can send it out to a recruitment company that deals in a variety of industries. And again, probably just bums on seats. Where's the value in it? Or go to you or Alex and say, specifically, I want someone with cleaning and hygiene experience because I want a plug and play, but I want the right person within the business. You then interview us for 2 hours or make us fill out a variety of forms, but that's so you get an understanding of what we want and what the business is. And we go through all of that pain, but that 2 hours of filling out forms or whatever is going to give you a much better picture of who we are, what we require, and who I am or who the hiring manager is. So to me, it's that consultative selling. It's that I care about getting you the right people for the right roles. So now all of a sudden, instead of getting hundreds of CVs, we might get 6. But those 6 CVs are people that you feel would fit with our philosophy. That all that pain and money has got to be better than sitting there reading 100 CVs. You know, my sister used to be a recruiter. Yeah, but my sister used to be a recruiter, and she was like, "I just scan read. I don't read them."
Yeah.
You're just looking for those buzzwords of whatever the role is that she was recruiting for. And I was like, how do you, like, it's ridiculous. And I've previously gone to recruiters, and they're either very good, in my experience, and I'm not blanketing, so anyone from the recruitment world that watches this thinks I'm having a go at recruitment. I'm not. They're either very good or they're very poor. There was never any middle ground. And if you didn't fit the bill, you never got the feedback as to why. And it is the same in sales as well. You know, I can spend all day sending prices out to people and you don't hear anything back, and then you try and follow up from it and you don't hear anything back from them. I'm like, just tell me what the problem is and I can try and fix that problem. Is it a price thing? Finding a way out on price. We need cheaper pricing. Okay, well, we're not the people for you then. You know, is it you didn't like me? That's fine. I can change that. There's 6 other salespeople.
Yeah.
You can deal with one of them. But unless you get feedback to know what the problem is, you can't fix the problem. And flipping it back to AI, that AI is never going to fix that problem, because you need that human connection to be able to make an impartial and informed decision.
Well, sometimes you don't want that customer too, for whatever reason. You could just feel that it's going to be a nightmare, or there is certain things that you just know you won't be able to deliver on. Whereas you know that, how well is a system going to be able to read the room and feel that? Can it do it? Maybe. I would say it's been very difficult for it to understand that, especially if it's a personality thing or something that's a bit more human. When you're dealing with someone, you're like, God, I don't want to be in contact with this person. And there's going to be lots of problems here.
You know,
you've got the
yeah, and if I look back in, my sales career in the industries I've been in, I say the industries, I'm making it sound like I've been in loads. I've been in 2. But, there are people that you want as customers for whatever reason, and you do everything you can to get that customer. But again, it's that building those relationships. It's a long-term game. It's not a short-term game. And that brings it back round to farmers and hunters. The hunters are, quick wins, and it will be lots of little quick wins. And that's great. But then really I'm sitting here looking, going, do you know what? I want that person, or I want that business. And I know it's going to take me 3, 6, 9, 12, 18 months to land them in some way, shape or form. But as long as you're there on the periphery and you're building that relationship, then once you get that customer, the goal is to keep them. You've built such a solid relationship with them that they're never going to leave.
How are they going to have that loyalty with an AI system? No, they're not going to have that, are they? They're not going to want to, they stay with it because they like it. And
there are many businesses out there that it is all about price, or it is all about, I need that now, I need it now, I need it now.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's those that are, it's not about the price, it's about the story that you're telling about your company and what your company can offer. And the storytelling, to coin a phrase, is a dying art. I don't think people can tell a story. It's move on to the next one.
You can talk to, really. I don't think often to tell a story to people. It's just not a skill that seems to be widely sort of broadcast that you need to learn. But stories are literally in our DNA. Like our brain is wired to want to hear stories. Did you read that book? It's Science of Storytelling. Did you read that?
Yeah. I loved it.
It's good, isn't it?
And
Yeah.
weirdly, as I was reading it, I was like, yeah, I do that, without ever being told that's how you tell a story. But you just,
Yeah.
And I think it comes from, I worked prior to the cleaning and hygiene world, I was in the paintball industry. So we used to do commando. I was over the desk every morning and it was just work. It's just the products that you sold. But it was very much a cottage industry, let's say. Everybody knew everybody. There were guys, that built very, very successful businesses that weren't true businessmen. They just fell into an industry that they enjoyed and they hit a niche. And it was at that time when, everybody was going to paintball sites for stag do's and, days outs with mates and birthday parties and just a reason to go out. The industry has changed as time's gone on. So I came into it when, all the mistakes could be made, but it didn't really matter because nobody really knew any different. And it was very much a fly-by, not a fly-by-night industry. That's wrong to the industry, but that real, it was its infancy. So everybody was trying something new and everybody was doing things differently. And it just didn't matter. There was no path that this is how you do it. So, and it was great. I loved it. I look back on it with the fondest of memories. I met my wife because of paintball. So, I've got to be thankful for that industry for something. She may not be, but that's a whole different kettle of fish. But and then the corporate businesses started coming in. Then the investment funds started buying into it because they realized it was a $1 billion industry when I worked in it. And then things start to change. Then you've got to do things this way. Do it this way because we've always done it this way. And that entrepreneur type of attitude sort of goes, if that makes sense. But, if I look at the industry now, and I've still got some great friends that work in the industry and that industry has massively changed. There's still an element of that entrepreneurial element to it, but it is very much a corporate entity now because it is different. A lot of the smaller companies that opened up have been bought out by the bigger ones, so now I guess it's like Amazon buying up market traders. It's a really bad analogy, but suddenly you've gone from that passion, that thing to, we have to start doing things a slightly different way now because
by numbers.
Yeah. And it's, and I like that. I like the entrepreneurial element to it. And when I owned a company and then that got bought by a bigger company and then they opened a branch in Europe and I ran that branch for them in Europe. And one of the greats, my old boss ever watches this, I should deny ever saying it, although it'd be a little bit difficult. One of the things that he taught me was, which I still use today, was just shut up and listen, and let people talk. And then you come away from it with right, how do we grow with this person? What pain do they currently have that needs fixing? And at the time, our biggest competitor opened a branch in the UK as well. And they did it the other way. This is what we can do for you. This is what, and we weirdly followed them without realizing we were following them. So they would go and see a customer and then a few days later we would go and see that same customer and went in with a completely different, well, what do you need from us? I can do all these things for you, but what do you need? And it stayed with me even today of saying that one of the great things about working at Wepa is we're still very flexible and we can be agile in how we do things. So what are your problems now and how can we fix those problems? Here's a list of 10 problems I've got, Andy. Okay, well, I can't fix all 10 of them, but I might be able to fix 5 of them, which might be enough just to convince someone, okay, well, but it all really comes down to telling a story, because I've got to sell Wepa as a business and what we stand for and what our philosophies are and how the business thinks, and it's the fact that, we're family owned and the CEO is, as down to earth and will roll up his sleeves, not a CEO who's going to sit there and hide behind his big desk, and that pick up the phone and go, I want to do this, or I want to try that. And people will go, well, we've tried that before in France and it really didn't work. And okay, it's a different market. Maybe if we tweak it slightly, and it's that entrepreneurial element to it that I think is lacking quite a lot these days within sales. Like, it's very much, this is how we do it. There's no deviating from that. So take it or leave it.
It's way of doing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
System, and stick to that system. Yeah. I think all things become like that, don't they, as they get bigger, more mature. I always think about it like that's how football is these days. Football's just systems now rather than creativity so much, and sort of takes a lot of the fun out of it. You kind of want the Wild West a little bit. You kind of want it to be almost a bit worse. Yeah. So you can just see people do and try different things and think outside the box a little bit. But you said previously before that the shut up and listen advice was very valuable. You still use that today. Would you say that's the most valuable advice you've ever gotten in sales, or would there be something else that you said was the best piece of advice you were ever given? Yeah,
I think, we see it all now, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, but it is true that really listen to what someone's actually telling you without telling you. And then you can build a story around it. Our goal is to be one of the most sustainable paper manufacturers in the world. But it's energy sapping to make paper, and it's water heavy. So the processes of making it becomes an element where you've got to say the way of making it. So we have to find other ways to be sustainable, to be better. And it's that element of being able to tell the whole story of what we stand for, what the ethos of the company is, and what we're trying to do. We probably talk about sustainability more than anything else. But if it's not a thing to that person I'm talking to, we'll touch on it, but I don't need to go into great detail about it. Because to some people, it's not a thing yet. It's not. Sustainable products are like 5% of the market, but if you look at Europe, sustainable products are probably 25% of the market.
So we're quite far behind then.
Yeah, we're probably 5 to 7 years behind Europe on a sustainable journey. But that's fine. But we're ahead of the curve. So we're already talking about it. And again, in 3, 6, 9, 12 months' time, it might become important to that company and they're going to remember you. But it's that whole, this is who we are. This is the story we have to tell. And I think that the art of telling stories has died. To coin Sam, Andy, you're full of a lot of waffle, but there's fact in it. And he's right, because I'm just constantly waffling, but I'm trying to get to a point, but he'll remember it from that element of the story, and I'm forever doing it. Oh, let me tell you about this time that, this fell into place or whatever, and it was all because of this, I love a story.
You have to be, for the sustainability piece of it, you have to be able to tell a story too, right? You have to be able to, because it ends up being just a bit of a, everybody knows what that word means, but also doesn't know what it really means and how it's possible and what you need to do and also what the truth is behind it. So you have to be able to sort of dissect what that actually means through a story.
Absolutely.
Don't you?
Yeah.
It's not the same conversation you're having about price, is it? It's a different conversation. You have to be able to articulate it in a way that makes sense and is also beneficial for them.
Yeah.
As well as you.
I remember, years ago, you won't remember this, you were just a twinkle in your dad's eye, but back in the 80s and 90s, you would you'd walk past an empty shop and there'd be some bloke in there with a briefcase full of perfumes, and he's telling a story of how he accumulated the latest aftershave, and it's not £80. He's going to charge you he's not even going to charge you 20, all right? He's going to charge you a tenner. Who wants them? Because when they're gone, they're gone. But we need to be quick because the police might be here in a minute. But in all of that, he's building up and I used to stand there and just listen to market. I used to love like that old traditional market. And I got a Saturday job on a market just because I loved the hustle of it. The greengrocer. There's a greengrocer there and there's a greengrocer there. They're both selling apples, but this guy's making, he's just standing there going, 4 apples for £1. And this one over here is going, right, what happened last night? Let me tell you. And he just tells a little story, a really short, funny story about his apples, about the that bloke's apples. And, he's got a queue of people and this guy can't give them away. And it's that whole storytelling thing. It's the fun element to it to me.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like that happens very often. At least you don't see it, do you? In action, you don't see it in action much anymore. Even if you go to buy a car, like that's not how they approach that anymore. They wouldn't sell you that car in that way. It's a very corporatized sort of way of selling you a car now, which in some ways is obviously good because you're getting truth instead of a load of BS a lot of the time. But that art of art of storytelling has gone a little bit as a result.
Yeah, there's a thing I was listening to on the radio the other day of what people could be better at, so what they could sharpen up on. They just did a text thing, and it all boiled down to the presenter's dad had been to a hotel somewhere, and he was just like, well, I think they need to crack the whip a little bit with the staff on the bar, and it was that sort of old school, things need to be done differently. And a bloke texted in and said, I hate it when people come to my car showroom and say, I'm just looking. And he's like, well, go to Tesco's. There's thousands of cars that are all very different. And I'm like, that's just like the best analogy of, yes, go and do that in Tesco's and then come back and see me, because nobody goes to a car showroom just to look. You want to buy something, Although I did go to a Ferrari dealer with my son. We drove past it and he was like, Dad, can we go in there? And I was
you definitely in that one.
I genuinely said, we're not here to buy. My son wants to look at Ferraris,
Salesman was like, Jesus, he could have just gone to the nice area. The Tesco is a nice area and he could have done.
Yeah, but I got to be honest, then I got more into it than he did. And then when one day I'd like to come back just to be able to buy one once. But again, like that, they're telling the story. Like you walk in the showroom, nobody sort of said you can't come in and have a look. I'm sure they get it all the time. The staff were incredibly friendly. They were interacting with Joe, and I always like that when people interact with your kids and they're like, if you want to sit in any of the cars, feel free to sit in the cars. I was like, are you mad? He's had chocolate today. It's probably going to be all over a steering wheel. You're mad for. But they were like, oh, just feel free to just have a look around. And then as we came out, to walk past the workshop, and I looked in the workshop, and by far the cleanest workshop I've ever seen. It was almost like it was like the F1 pits. It was completely clean. And I was like, they're telling a story before you've even walked into the showroom.
Yeah.
Like it's this prestige thing.
They know it's going to pay dividends at some point elsewhere, and it will come back around. And when it does, it's worth a fortune.
Yeah. But it's the experience, isn't it? It's the experience of, if you're spending 300 grand on a car, you want an experience, don't you? You want a story told to you. You want a tangible thing that you've enjoyed the process of spending all that money, not just someone going, give us your money. Does that make sense?
It is funny though, because when we were sales roles, you get so many applicants from car sales. That's like the number one thing, and from a lot of the hardwares too. They're just looking to get out. Yeah, It's going from car sales to doing what you do is very different. It's very different, isn't it? It's like a completely different job. It's not the same job, although it's got similar elements to it. Being on the road, doing what you do, and how you develop business and manage those accounts is not the same as selling cars on a forecourt. It's completely different. So it's very difficult for those guys to try and make that jump because it's kind of not a transferable skill when you compare it with other salespeople who are doing more traditional.
Yeah.
So you just get thousands of sales guys just trying to get out of it. I do feel sorry for them. It's very difficult.
I always wonder what a car salesman does, because you're sat in a showroom all day. Unless somebody walks in that showroom to buy a car, you can't actively go out and try and sell your cars.
Yeah.
So it must be an element of, everybody that walks in, let's say have 100 people that walk in, you have to convert. Your walk-in to conversion ratio must be huge to make it tangible.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of following up as well, I think. Follow up when someone's details is a lot of that. That's probably the most proactive bit that you're doing, I should imagine. I don't know.
Yeah.
We went
the other day about...
No, go ahead, mate. We just got a little bit of lag on the...
No, go on. There was a bit of lag. Go on, carry on. We were going, you said.
We went to look around in a car dealership the other day, and we were just looking around. But the lady who was there, she was incessant on making you sit down. And within 2 minutes, she was already trying to set up car finance for me. I was like, look, I haven't even got rid of my car yet. My car's still got 2 years worth of finance on it. I literally can't get out of it. I'd already told her all of this. And she was still like going for it. Like, your thought. I was like, hold on, I don't want this. Like, I can't get it even if I wanted to. And I was like, damn, it's maybe not the right way of going about it, but I think you kind of have to be like that in that environment to try and get some conversion.
Yeah.
Very difficult. Very difficult.
I think it's like anything, isn't it? Live in South Wales and we go over to, go to the West Country, we have to go over the bridge at Bristol. And if you look to the right, it's just full of cars, and it's all the cars that have come in that are ready. So you've got this stock of cars that your conversion rate has to be huge because you've got another 100 of them sat there. And okay, they're going to dealers all over the country. But the point being is it's almost like if you get 100 people through the door, your conversion rate's got to be 60, 70%. So it is that high pressure sale, where's the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one. But but there's many industries that are like that, that are fast paced. We can't hang around. We've got more to get through. We've got to get through. And that's where the art of picking the right people, of taking your time through the process of a sale and being able to say, do I actually want to sell my product to this person? Is this person going to feel passionate and enjoy selling the brand as much as I do? Because if they don't, what's the point? There's no point in selling to them. One of my really good friends that's got a company in the paintball industry, they make customized paintball guns. They're expensive, but they test every single gun before it leaves the building. And there's a tag goes on it so they know who the tester was, what time of day it was tested, and if there were any problems with it. You can go to a paintball event and there's always gun techs there because they're electronic and it's a messy sport. Something will always go wrong with it, whether it's an O-ring gone or battery gone or whatever, or circuit board, whatever. The amount of times I've been to events and the amount of their gun techs are just sitting around, like twiddling their thumbs. And then you look at other stands and they've got piles of guns there, or they've got queues of people trying to get their guns fixed because they mass produce them and they're not taking that care and that time over making sure that thing reaches you as the end user in its best possible shape to be able to do the job that it needs to do. And that's an art that's gone as well, is everybody's about stack it high, sell it cheap, instead of going, let's have value over volume, instead of looking for all of these we could get 10 accounts that all spend 100 grand a year, but we could also have one account that spends £1 million a year. And that one account, now we've got one invoice, not 10 invoices. We've got, one truck on the road as opposed to 10 trucks on the road. And all of a sudden you've picked the right person or the right company to help promote your products. And then you work with that company as opposed to trying to spread yourself across 10 companies. There's different ways of looking at it,
What do you think is, because I've been trying to get to the bottom of this question for a while, like, 'cause obviously both of us are selling on value, not price, what we're doing. There's cheaper players in the market. All of us, if you asked 100 people, do you believe you get what you pay for? 5 will say, for the most part in life, yes. For most things, the vast majority of things, most of the time, they'd probably say yes. So why is it that when people agree on that, at least when I speak with everybody I speak to agrees on that, like you get what you pay for most of the time, why is it then when they're buying things, they gravitate so much towards what the cheapest is and don't care about the value? There seems to be a cognitive dissonance there. Like,
yeah, people care about what
this isn't the case.
I think it's a good question, actually. I think with paper, okay, everybody needs it. Okay, we all need toilet roll in our lives. We would be completely lost without toilet roll in our lives, right?
Some of it, 3 seashells, if you get the reference.
Blimey, that was an old school reference, wasn't it? I'm going to have to go and watch it now.
Just for that scene.
Wesley Snipes was underrated. Right.
It was.
Just for that one film. Although Blade, genius. Blade 3 by far the best. Ryan Reynolds made it, to be fair. But it's a disposable product, isn't it? You use it and you throw it away and it goes down the toilet or it goes into a waste paper bin. If you don't have it, then it becomes a problem. But I think people look at it and go, it's just a throwaway commodity item, so it has to be the cheapest possible. Well, hang on. Instead of looking at it that way, what about if there's a system that you can buy that, yes, you're going to pay a little bit more, but you will save money in the long run. And that's because it dispenses one sheet at a time, or that's because it's the right product for the right job. And there's so many different ways of looking at it. But again, that comes down to, I think, you saying, okay, what are your problems? What problems are you facing? And how do we fix those problems together? Because we're in this together. And I might not be able to fix your problems, but if I'm open and honest and say, yeah, I can't make you pink toilet paper with blue dots on it because, half your staff are colourblind and that's the only way they're going to be able to see it. I physically can't do it, but what about if we do this instead? That you're giving people those options. And to me, it shows that you care about their problems, that you're not just there to make a sale. But I think a lot of the time it's profit. The companies and the end users are dictating as well. The end user says, I want to. Blue Centipede is a great example because it's, Blue Centipede for donkey's years was 6 in a case, 150 metres. Now there's 6 in a case and there's 120 metres, there's 145 metres, there's 140 metres, there's 60 metres, there's 80 metres. There's any combination from 60 to 100, and the height of the rolls changed and suddenly they're this high and then they're this high. But everybody kept coming back going, I need it cheaper, I need it cheaper. And the only way to make it cheaper is to compromise on the product, whether that's compromise on height of the roll or whether that's compromise on the length of the product that you're getting. But if nobody takes the time to go, well, hang on, this 150 meters, if you buy this, it's actually price per meter is better than the one that you're buying at 120 meters. But if you don't take, and not everybody has the time to be able to do that. And buyers just, everybody's working. So, COVID changed a lot. A lot of people got laid off and didn't get replaced for whatever reason. And now all of a sudden I'm doing 3 people's jobs. I don't have the time to physically sit there and work it out. What it is price per meter or price per sheet or I'm just looking at, okay, the case price on that one is £6 and the case price on that one is £5.50. I'm buying that one at £5.50 because it's cheaper and it's going to save me this amount of money. But it's the consultative role of being able to say, well, hang on, let's look at it slightly different. As long as your price per meter is cheaper or an equivalent, but if you can save having, instead of sending, 10 trucks a year, we're sending 5 trucks a year, but you're still getting the same amount of paper, but you're reducing your truckloads, you're reducing your invoicing, you're reducing your cash flows better because you're not paying 10 invoices, you're only paying 5. There's a whole way of looking at it, and it's having the time to be able to sit there and break it down like that. And I don't.
Yes, in education, obviously, I know a tiny bit about paper. Family's been in it for a while, but I wouldn't know those things that you just mentioned there. And that makes complete sense as to. But before that, I'm just going to have one number syndrome where I'm just going to look at one number, right, and just make a whole ton of assumptions. And also, I'm ignorant and uneducated on the problem, so I'm just not going to know. We have recruitment got a very similar thing, but it's talk about one number syndrome. In recruitment, you get it the most. I think people just look at one number, percentage rates, fees, what you charge. I had a conversation a few weeks ago with an MD. They had a sales role that had been recruiting for about 9 months. I haven't got anywhere with it. And their target for that person was almost £1 million in year one. So they'd lost, by their own admission, £750,000 worth of revenue waiting to get somebody in. That was the target they set for that person. So you have that conversation, you're like, okay, how can we can get that rectified for you in a month, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Oh, but your rates are 5% more than everybody else. And it's like, even when you break down the numbers and the figures, you go, you're losing 50k a month here almost by not making this decision.
Yeah.
The £1,200 extra in fees is not even, it's water vapor. It's not even a drop compared to what's happening. Yeah. And you can have those conversations, and people will still just sit on that one number and go, no, it's still that one number. And you just think, wow, it's either I've really explained that really awfully, or there's something else going on there, and I'm not sure quite what that other thing would be.
Because it's yours is a bill, isn't it? Like, you're going to send someone a bill, a physical. There you go. The £1 million in lost revenue. I never had it. So we said we wanted that person to do £1 million for argument's sake once we hired them. So it's taken us 6 months. So we've lost 500 grand of our £1 million target for that person. But that was just a target that we put on a person that we didn't have. So I haven't lost 500 grand. I haven't gained that 500 grand. Whereas you're sending them a bill, go and pay that. And then it's like, well, now I'm physically paying money out for money that I've never got.
Well,
it's that fake hidden cost, isn't it? That.
Yeah. Well, there's so many costs than just that. But when it comes to people, you've got people who, if you've got people covering roles, you've been there before, it's taking you away from your job if you're covering somebody else's desk, right? You can't do as much as you'd like to do because you've got another 10 accounts to manage now. Then you've got to babysit for a little while. So then you're losing revenue. Your customers are getting annoyed. You're also getting burnt out. People who are getting burnt out and getting annoyed that these roles aren't being recruited for. So there's so many incalculable costs that are hugely damaging, but you can never actually put a number on them.
My wife was doing a secondment role in her job, and so she come from a supervisor to the shift manager role. So now she's managing all of the supervisors, and as a supervisor, she knew what her frustrations were. So she's like, right, I'm going to go and fix them all. And then she went, well, hang on, they're just my frustrations. So for the first 3 weeks, all she did was just talk to every supervisor and just go, right, what are your problems? Because my problems aren't your problems, you know, and even if we work in the same company, the things that frustrate me may not frustrate you. And she then just came away with everybody's opinion. And yeah, a lot of them were the same as hers and they're easy fixes now. But some of them, she's like, I didn't even think of that. That's not even a problem for me. Yeah, but that's a problem to that person. So now you've got to fix that one as well, because they brought it up. So now you've got to try and fix it. It's the art of conversation, isn't it? It's that open and honest conversation of going, these are all my problems. You know, the company you were talking to, you know, that these are all our hidden problems that we physically can't see. How do they know that Karen, who's looking after those 10 accounts, is also not reaching out to you going, David, can you find me another role? Because this place has gone to the dogs. And all of a sudden they lose Karen. And then they lose Bill in the warehouse because he's had enough. And then
You lose your customers because they're pissed off.
Yeah.
The accounts aren't being managed in reaction. Yeah.
And then the next, all because you didn't want to pay £1,200. Now, I'm not saying that the £1,200 is going to fix all of their problems, but if it plugs a hole, and you're spending money to accumulate money. You're not just spending money for the sake of spending money. You know, we've all worked for companies that have spent millions on IT systems, and then 6 months later they go, "We're not using that one anymore.
We're using
this one." Well, hang on, so that cost us, but this was going to revolutionise the world.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, I think it is those
things. I mean, you've obviously been part of a lot of different teams over the years and hired the teams and whatnot. Like, what have you seen has been like for hiring salespeople? What's the biggest mistake companies make when they're trying to attract people to join their business that you've seen?
The biggest mistake. I think the biggest thing is people can be very good at interviews, but not actually produce a lot, and they're great at that interview.
Not salespeople.
Salespeople.
Surely,
You know what I mean?
that's your right.
Tangible, physical. I'm sorry, I'm probably labelling some people that, you know, there's going to be hate LinkedIn sent to me now for that comment. But yes, salespeople are very good at selling themselves. And I think that's the biggest mistake, is there's never that we hire people based on an interview. That there's not my wife's going for an interview today, and she's for the last week been practicing. Like there's criteria given to her of demonstrate this, demonstrate this, demonstrate this. Oh, by the way, we're going to pick 3 of those. There's 7, but we're only going to pick 3. And you don't know what 3 we're going to pick ahead of time. So she has to know 7 things and be able to react quickly. And I think there's that element that in sales, we don't do that. We interview someone, we let them sell themselves. They're a salesman. They're never going to walk in and go, do you know what? Really good at this, but I'm really, really poor at this. So I wouldn't hire you because I'm not very good at that. So unless you can fix it, they're never going to do it. You know, a salesperson is great at every problem you throw at them. So I think the problem is we don't, and this is what I like about you and Alex's company, is the fact that you're whittering that away. You're taking that pain point away. You know, I've worked with people where I've gone, oh, blimey, this person's, you know, really good. Like, they're amazing. I can see why they got hired. And then 6 months in, you realise that they've had 4 months off of work due to illness. And you're like, this is your first 6 months. You should be coming to work in the first 6 months. If you've lost a foot, you know, you're still going to work. And now with all the, you know, the hybrid, the working from home, all of those things, that really we don't have a reason to be off sick. If I have a knee operation next week, I can probably take a couple of days, but then I'm just going to sit there with a laptop on my lap. How can I not work? You know, and I think that there's that to it, you know, that we don't really dig into someone's background or someone's drivers, or, you know, because it is too fast moving. Like you say, you need that salesperson replaced, and I need it done as quickly as possible because I need them to go and look after 50 accounts. But how do you find the right person? Well, you bring in an expert. Go away and sort that problem out for me. I don't want that headache. I've got 1,000,001 other things to do.
Yeah.
And I think that there should be more of that, So I think
It's
interviews
thing.
probably.
It's a difficult thing because everybody's a risk, aren't they? And it's vice versa as well for the job seeker. You don't know what you're getting into until your bum's on that seat, and the company doesn't know what they're really getting into until your bum their seat. You don't know. Yeah. There's always a risk factor, and with human beings, we're complicated creatures, and someone could be incredible at what they do, but maybe they're going through a divorce or something, and they just go off the wagon before they start your company. There's all sorts of things that can happen that might not be an indicator of them being bad at what they do at all. So it is a difficult thing to do. And when companies what I try to say to salespeople is kind of when you're interviewing, try and put yourself in the shoes of the hiring manager for a second, because that person doesn't want to make a mistake. That hiring manager doesn't want to make a mistake. They don't want to look silly. They know it's going to fall back on them, and they're apprehensive and they're suspicious, and they should be. You should go into things being sort of a little bit apprehensive and suspicious, but also hopeful, because like you said a minute ago, salespeople can exaggerate and they're not always truthful with what they say. And when you're a salesperson who's interviewing other salespeople, you know that, it. That's going to be the case. So what I try to say to salespeople is, when they're interviewing, is try and put yourself in their shoes, and then how do you then solve that problem? Going back to problems again, you want to try and have as much evidence to support the things that you're saying. So if you're making a claim of X, Y, and Z, how can you then back that up with evidence? And that evidence is going to put the hiring manager's mind at ease, and it's going to give you a much better chance. What does the evidence actually look like is the difficult thing. And this is where it goes back to your point, because companies don't really ask for evidence either, because it is a difficult thing to get. But there's a couple of things you can do. The first thing, evidence, is when someone knows their numbers or doesn't, for me. If you don't know your numbers, your sales figures off by heart, at the back of your hand, that is off the bat would make me feel like you're not being truthful. If you don't have them to hand, why? Why not? You should have them. Unless the company doesn't give them to you, which does happen, you should know them at the back of your hand. So having all the numbers and figures and being really quick with them is a really great way to make somebody feel like you're being truthful and accurate with what you're saying. The second thing is, which is a little bit more difficult these days, is trying to get references from ex-employers, yes, but also from customers as well. I've just had a guy literally yesterday, he's interviewing for us. It's a big role, big role for this company. And one of this guy's customers has reached out to the company and said, this guy has been brilliant for us. He's been incredible for us. We would take him on if we could, but we can't at the moment. You should hire him. And that's evidence from a customer telling you these things. So you can get those. If you've got customers who like you, they'll happily give you references. Same with ex-employers. They'll give you, unofficial ones, but officially companies these days can only really get the references that give you the dates that you've worked. But if you've got an ex-leader, he'll do an unofficial one or a character reference. That's really powerful evidence. I'd want to see that if I was hiring somebody, right? Show me a customer who really liked you. Like one testimonial, one whatever. And that's a good way to sort of back that up. But companies, they don't really ask for that. And maybe they should do a little bit more to sort of, back up what these people are saying.
I think the other thing that companies don't ask for as well is that, I need a job, okay? I've got a mortgage to pay, I've got mouths to feed, so I need a job. So it's always what me as a salesperson can do for the company. Nobody ever flips it and says, what can we do for you? What do you need from us? Well, actually, what I really need is I need to be able to pick my kids up from school every day at 3:00, and I need to be able to log back on at 6:00 when my wife comes in from work because she's a paramedic and works shifts, or she's, whatever. That's what I need from you. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. You can do that. No problem at all. Like, there's never, it's a two-way street, isn't it? I'm selling myself to you, the hiring company, but also you're selling yourself to me.
Yeah, some companies are really apprehensive about that. They don't like that. you meet some companies where there's kind of like an arrogance of, well, we exist, the name above the door is enough. And it's like, no one cares about the name above the door.
It's not.
They don't care anymore. No one cares about, everyone cares about what.
To an old colleague the other day, and she said to me that she'd gone on an interview, and then one question got asked at the very end. She's a mum, her kids are growing up. The kids are older, so she's now able to do, instead of a regional role, like a national role. The guy went, well, how do you think you're going to be able to cope with doing a national role with 2 young children? And she just went, I don't want to work for you. And said, well, I think I've just answered that in the previous questions. I don't want to take my application. They'd already said, we're going to take you on to the next stage. And then the guy asked that question, and she went, I don't want to go on. I don't want to go further. And I was like, good for you, because that just gives you a little bit of insight of what that hiring manager is going to be like. And I remember having an argument with a boss, midlife crisis, left a perfectly good job to try something completely new. Didn't work out. It's fine. We are where we are today. Probably wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have done that. Don't mention it to my wife. But the point being is, I got into something with him one day, and I said, this is not what was sold to me.
Yeah.
And he said, we didn't sell you anything. And I said, you did. In the interview process, you sold me you, and you sold me that your vision and your drivers, and the way you're acting now is not how you were in that interview. And that's wrong, And if I sold myself in a certain way in an interview and I did nothing of how I said I was going to do things, you would be on me. You would be on my case, but it has to work in the reverse.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. It's funny. That does happen. It's what I've learned from doing it for 10 years is that you've got both parties are really crap at selling themselves to the other one. Like, both are really bad at that. Most of the time, salespeople cannot write CVs at all that the hiring managers actually want to see. It's just, I've read millions of them. They don't tell you anything. And it's like, how can I possibly tell if you're going to be of value to us? I can't see anything in there. No numbers, no figures, not even the products you've sold, sectors you've sold to, the sales channels you've sold through, nothing. So they can't sell themselves. And then from being on the other side of the coin as well, how badly companies are selling their own opportunities to job seekers. It's just all about what the company wants rather than what they can give to the job seeker. So you've got two parties that can't sell to themselves at all, trying to make something happen, and it becomes a nightmare. It becomes a real problem. And it's funny when you do it with salespeople, because I'll speak with sales managers and salespeople. Salespeople are really good at selling their products and their services, but you ask them to sell themselves on paper, they don't know where to start. Likewise, with companies, you speak to a sales director, they'll know how to sell their business or their products. They don't know how to sell their opportunity. And it's all the same. All you're doing is the same thing. You're just showing the features, the benefits, and the value, and how their life's going to change. That's all you're doing on both sides of that coin. But it's like when it comes down to people and themselves, all of their own sales training and knowledge and everything experience they've ever had just goes completely out the window. I'm not sure why that is, but it does when it comes to job hunting and for hiring people. It's very.
I think as people, though, I'm going to blanket everybody, but I realise that what I'm about to say, there are exceptions to the rule. But people don't like talking about themselves. This is what I do for a living. This is what I've achieved. The process that Paula's going through now, she has to basically say what she does 5 days a week. And that's all she's got to talk about. But getting her to talk about herself is really hard because it's out of her comfort zone to pat herself on the back for the massive achievements that she's done. I'm exactly the same. If you said to me tomorrow, right, and write down all your achievements, there'd be thousands of them because I'm amazing. I'd be really hard pushed to be able to sit there and go, well, I did this. And it might not mean anything in tangible cash. I'm like, I got this account from X to Y. Because what you're missing out is the detail, is the relationship that was built over 2 years, or the relationship that was built over 6 months, or whatever little thing you found, because you just did it naturally and don't really think about it. And then you move on to the next one.
It's just your job, isn't it? So you don't know how your job to you is
that incredible. Well, yeah. But, I'd like, know your dad really well. And then, if I go to your dad and go, tell me what I'm really good at, he might tell me things and I go, mental, I'm not good at that, but he sees me in a different way to I see myself. So it's, people don't like talking about themselves, and I get it. But, we're also salespeople, we should be able to at least write down our achievements,
Companies have the same problem. I don't know if it's because of the same reasons, but they are not able to articulate what value they can bring to the life of a potential employee, at least not at the beginning, not when they're advertising the job or interviewing for the job. It tends to be, for the most part, it tends to be about us. It's all about us. You're working for us. We're paying you. But that's fine, but there is 1 trillion other companies doing that exact same thing. So why is someone going to want to join you? There has to be more than just, we pay your salary, but they can't articulate those things either. I think there's a little bit about, they don't know what those things are. But like, for example, this is how, when we recruited for you, like the main driver for you was kind of the challenge and to create something, right? The creation, building something, showing your skills, going to be able to show what you can do, prove to yourself and everybody else what you can do and build something, because that's what's interesting, right? That's interesting work. Most companies, when they for roles like that, they don't think about that that's actually interesting for the person who wants to join it. They won't take that on board, that people actually want to create stuff and build things, and that's where a lot of the enjoyment comes from. They won't think of it that way at all. It's just, you're just building this, you're just running this team.
Yes, and there's
no benefit to that person, way more emotional and lifestyle benefit to that person if you articulate that in the right way. And then people who want that, funnily enough, like for you, people who want, because not everybody wants that. Not everybody wants that responsibility to build something from scratch, right? Not everybody wants that. But for someone like you who did want that, then it calls out to you, doesn't it? Right? It calls out, that's exactly what I want. And then you get that type of person then coming to you if you can broadcast that message in the right way. But they don't. So it ends up being a bit of a cluster.
To be fair, just before you and I spoke originally, when you were recruiting for this role, somebody had sent me the job link via LinkedIn. Said, I saw this and thought of you. And I read the job advert, and I don't think it was your job advert. It was just a generic one that I think went out prior to.
It was their generic own one.
Yeah. And I just went, doesn't sound exciting at all. Just sounds like a normal sort of sales job. And then when you and I spoke, I then went, actually, and I remember coming home to Paula and saying, someone's reached out about the world of paper, and she was like, really? What do you think? And I was like, really want the job? Like, after one conversation of realising what was there. So then it becomes like, instead of it just being a thing I had a conversation about, now it's all consuming of, right. But through the process, it allowed me to think, all right, it's a blank canvas. So there's nothing set in stone. And, the fact that it was working with Ali, who I knew anyway, which massively helped. And we tend to think along the same ways. He's more the numbers guy. I'm just the one who comes up with the stupid ideas, and then he works out whether it was going to work or not. But it gives you that drive, doesn't it? That every day, yes, I'm still doing sales, but I'm actually there to achieve something and try and do something in a different way and solve problems that people probably didn't realize that they had, or it wasn't really a problem until someone pointed it out. That's the fun element to me, And having a team, Sam.
Most people want in their life. I think the way that most companies approach it, though, they kind of, when you talk to them about, what are the benefits of someone joining you, they kind of go, benefit. Well, we pay salary and a bonus and they get a car and holiday. And you go, yeah, they are benefits, but there's other things that are hidden which are actually more important to people. The things we've spoken about there, maybe it's flexibility, and maybe it's traveling more. Maybe it's overseas travel. Maybe it's being fully remote. Maybe it's building something from scratch. Maybe it's not building something from scratch and you've got a very simple job where you have to do very little. Some people want less responsibility. So every single facet of a role is a selling point to somebody, but they don't really see it in that way. And that's a big reason why, at least in my opinion, I think companies really struggle to get people because they can't articulate these things that then get people interested to want to be part of it's the storytelling again. It's just the story. You're just telling a story about why you should quit your job and come and join us, basically.
Yeah. And, you know, it's like anything, isn't it? You want it to sound like the most amazing, exciting thing you've ever done in your entire life, you know? And if someone's going to play around the golf, you know, and they want you to go with them, they've got to sell that day out to you in some way, shape or form, you know? If it's, you know, oh, there's go-go girls dancing on every tee on this particular golf course. It's amazing. They do, you know, every hole you get a pint and it's brilliant and it's a real giggle. You know, whatever the selling point is, you need to be sold it. It's the same with jobs. It's the same with selling a product. You know, there's so much choice out there now for anything, from a pair of jeans to a pair of socks. You know, you're inundated with choice. You know, jeans were always Levi's. You know, then Pepe jeans came along and then Ice jeans. You know, and then all of a sudden Sainsbury's made jeans. You know, but you have this choice of where you can buy from and what you can do. So I think with jobs, if you're moving, it's got to be a real selling point to move. You know, real.
Well, it's one of the most
driver to move
do in your life. It has to be worth doing. One of the most stressful things to change in your life, other than moving out.
Yeah. And no one wants to be the new guy, do they?
Yeah, sucks at the beginning. Yeah, sucks at the beginning.
But also sucks at the beginning, but then also, you know, gets you to go, you know, tell me about this. What's the best thing about working here? You know, I remember saying to Chris obviously Chris that you recruited for us and Keith as well. I remember saying to Chris at the end of 3 months, right, give me 2 good things about working here and then give me some bad things, or just tell me the good and tell me the bad. Because there's always bad. No matter how great the company is, there is always bad. Tell me what's the good, tell me what's the bad. Yeah. And then maybe we can fix the bad, you know? Yeah, of course you will, you know? And luckily the bad was an easy fix, or an easy, so it was easy to work out what to do next time. But if you don't ask those horrible questions, you're never going to know the answers. So we're never going to improve. We're never going to be able to do it better if we just don't know, you know? And I think that's the same for everything. If it's delivered in the right way, then everybody should welcome feedback in some way, shape or form. Good.
It's good of you to actively search that out, because, you know, a lot of people don't want to know, do they? They don't want to know the bad things. And, you know, you need to have that feedback to progress and adapt and change and make things better for everybody. You need to know what those bad things are. So it's good for you. Yeah. It's good that you search it out. So finish things off, Andy, there's obviously a lot of cool stuff going on at Veppa right now. You know, cleaning show coming up.
Coming along. Are you coming down?
Find you. Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, I'll see you there. I'll come on. You'll be my first port of call. I'll come on to the stand and see you straight away, as soon as I get.
Yeah. All right, good. We will be on stand.
What's going on with me at the moment? What's going on? Where can they find you? What's some of the cool stuff going on?
We'll be at the cleaning show. You won't be able to not miss us. We're all pretty in pink for the cleaning show. So we're on stand E45 there from Thursday through to Tuesday to Thursday. We're one of we're the registration sponsors as well. So there'll be Satino logos everywhere. We purchased Star Tissue up in Blackburn a year ago. So for for 2024, we've had all the integration going on there. We're now fully aligned. We're one sales team now. Everything ships out of Blackburn, whereas before we had two warehouses. So, one invoice, everything out of Blackburn. You can buy your run-of-the-mill commodity products from Blackburn, and you can also buy all your system-based products from Blackburn as well. So lots going on, lots of changes, lots of problem solving, lots of, adjusting and checking and seeing how things are working. And, and I kind of like that as well. It's, we can just be better at what we do. And then we've got a new line of dispensers come out called Hygienity. Not my words, a customer's word. That's the coolest, sexiest dispenser I've ever seen. It's also the first time I've ever heard that spoken about, a handheld dispenser. Matthias, who designed it all, was very pleased to hear that. He's gone very grey in the last 5 years. But so it's been a huge project to get that off the ground. We were due to launch September, October of last year, but we've had a few delays due to the dispensers not being 100% right in pre-production. So there was a few tweaks along the way, which obviously adds to some delays in production, but it's all starting to come through now. So come stop by the stand, have a look at them, have a look at the products. We've got your run-of-the-mill pure pulp products and white recycled products, and then we've got innovation products as well, where we've got Pure Soft, which is made from 100% cardboard, and then we've got Green Grow, which is made from Acanthus grass, or as most people know it, elephant grass. So a completely different fibre type. So lots going on, it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
It's an exciting time. And what's the best, if someone wanted to reach out to you, what would be the best way of doing that?
I'm on LinkedIn. I think it's Andy Piper. Very simple, very easy. I'm a very simple and easy man. Or you can email me at andy.piper@wepa.co.uk. And I'm here to help in any way that we can. So yeah,
awesome.
Come check us out.
Well, I'll stop the recording now, Andy, but don't log off because it'll just stop the recording. But I'll have a quick chat with you after this. But
okay, yeah, that's it.
You're the best. Thank you so much for being the first guest. I really enjoyed it. You're a top man. You're a legend of the game. So yeah, thanks.
I enjoyed it. It's been good fun.